Are we ready? Are we streaming, all that good stuff? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. Can we share the slideshow? Perfect, Monique. Thank you so much. With that, I will call this evening's Scarborough Public Schools Board of Education meeting to order. Tonight is Thursday, April 1st, 2021. May I have the attendance, please? Diane, you're on mute.
That would help. Mrs. Giftis?
Here.
Dr. Gill?
Here.
Ms. Casalonis?
Here.
Ms. Layton?
Here.
Mrs. Lindstrom?
Here.
Mrs. Seither?
Here.
Mrs. Turner?
Here.
Mr. Bennett?
Here.
And Ms. Giftis?
Here.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda item 4.0 is adjustments to the agenda. Are there any adjustments to the agenda this evening? Seeing none. Agenda item 5.0 is public comment. I have a few things that I would like to say before I open up public comment about public comment. I want to take a minute first to thank everybody from the community and from the staff and for our teachers who took the time to email the board in the last 2 weeks. You have certainly kept me very busy, but you know, it's also very much appreciated by the board. It's important that we have our stakeholder feedback, and so thank you again to everyone who took the time to email us. You will notice that neither the school calendar nor plans to return to school are on tonight's agenda. The school calendar is still being discussed at the policy committee level, and the return to school plans for the fall will be on the agenda for April 15th. A friendly reminder that public comment is only open to items on the agenda. We ask that people are respectful of our 3-minute time limit and direct their comments to the chair. In the event that speakers deviate from the aforementioned guidelines, I will offer a verbal reminder to please follow board policy. And if my request is not met, then I will mute your microphone and you will forfeit the remainder of your time. I really, really don't want to have to do that. And so with that said, you know, I appreciate everyone's mutual respect of our board policy and understanding that our meetings will run more smoothly if everyone is respectful of that policy. And so with that, I will turn it over to public comment. One last thing, we did have 2 individuals email us today. Both of those emails were not necessarily related to the agenda, more about agenda setting in general and when certain things would appear on the agenda. And so I will get back to both of you offline. And with that, Amber, I am actually not a host tonight, so could someone please promote Mrs. Hoxa to speak?
I can do that. And Monique is also going to make you a co-host at the same time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Amber should be all set.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can, Amber. Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, everyone. I just want to share a little bit. I do appreciate what you're saying, April, and I do respect and appreciate everyone's time. But I just want to touch on a couple things that I'm hoping that we can see in our new superintendent. I feel like time is running out, and I want to share that, you know, teachers are overworked, overwhelmed, and it's beginning to show. Now with the scenario 3 approval, it's causing a who gets what situation based on children's critical needs. So this is giving more work for the teachers now. So teachers are having to make extra lesson plans to accommodate the kids with the critical need, and it's adding more layers to the teachers And I'm worried that they're not able to educate the kids at this point because they're under so much stress. The students have a critical need, and I'm looking to see in our new superintendent of Scarborough Public Schools that he or she will listen to their community, put the kids first, get his or her students in school 5 days a week safely as soon as possible. And I want to let the future superintendent know that you have the support of the community. You have the support of local professionals in town who care about the kids and care about the teachers and care about the staff and the administration and want what's best for everyone. And what's best for everyone is for the children to be able to access equitable education. And one other thing I wanted to share real quick, if you'll let me, April, is when I was in 3rd grade, I went to Bestworth School. It was right behind Wentworth in the parking lot. And it was just for about a year or so. And it was in some portables and it was kind of janky, but I remember having a wonderful 3rd grade year, and they moved me out of the building. You know, it was Bessie School and Wentworth mixed together. And I remember 3rd grade being a really fun time. So I just think we should try to view, different opportunities and viewpoints of people and try to work together as a community. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time.
Thank you, Amber. Is there anyone else who wishes to make public comment this evening? Seeing none, I am going to go ahead and close public comment for tonight. Agenda item 6.0 is a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A for the purposes of discussing the employment of personnel to return to public session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
What should Gabby and I do? How do we know when to come back on?
For anyone who is on the meeting as a panelist and for our attendees, that's a good question. You can just mute yourself and turn your camera off. This should not take too long. And as soon as the board's ready, we'll be back on this same link.
Lovely.
Are we ready to vote? Thank you, Diane.
Mrs. Giftis,
Yes.
Dr. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Castellanos,
Yes.
Ms. Layton,
Yes.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Mrs. Seither,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and Ms. Giftis.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. And for everyone watching, I appreciate your patience. We will be right back. School board, use the second link Kelly sent, not the first one.
Tina.
We are back. Monique, if you could make me a co-host again, that would be great.
We're all set,
Oh, I
people.
am. I'm all set. Look at that. Okay. Is that everybody back? Perfect. Thanks so much. And thank you everyone for your patience. Agenda item 7.0 is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, April. Tonight I'll be talking about enrollment, and we're going to be pulling up the slide on that, and we'll compare current enrollment with last year's enrollment numbers. And then after that, I'd like to pull in Sue Ketch, high school principal, to talk about year-end activities. So let's start with April enrollment. At the high school, and I'll be working from left to right, high school, we currently have 943 students. A year ago, we had 984. With homeschool students at the high school, we currently have 8. With 100% remote, we have 244 students at the high school doing that. And then with a hybrid model, we currently have 699. As we move down to the middle school, currently we have 704 students. A year ago, we had 701. With our homeschool population at the middle school, we have 21 students. 100% remote, we have 116 students. And with the hybrid model, we have 588 students. As we look at Wentworth School, we currently have 614 students. A year ago, we had 673. With our homeschool population, we currently have 17 students. 100% remote at Wentworth is 79 students. And with a hybrid model, we're 535. As we look at Blue Point, currently we have 197. A year ago, we had 203. And when we look at homeschool, we combine all the K-2 schools, we have 33 students. As we look at Blue Point's 100% remote, we have 37 students. And with the hybrid, we have 160 students. As we go to 8 Corners, we currently have 226 students. A year ago, we had 243. 100% remote, 50 students, and the hybrid, 176 students. Lastly, as we look at Pleasant Hill, we have currently 184 students. A year ago, 205. With the 100% remote, we have 33 students, and with the hybrid, we have 151. As we total these up, currently we have 2,868 students. A year ago, we had 3,009 students. With our homeschool population, we have 79 students, and 100% remote, 559, and our hybrid, 2,309 students. So that's our April enrollment. And if it works, I would like to invite Sue Ketch in, and she's going to talk about year-end activities.
Sue should be all set. Thank you, Sue.
Good evening. As we roll out the spring activities, I do want to start with some thank yous to Mr. Prince and Dr. Netto for their support and encouragement to take risks, think big, and plan well. I want to thank the senior class officers and Mr. Crowley, who is their advisor, the parents of the proud parents of the class of 2021. And from a real down and dirty point of view, I would really like to thank Karen Sprague, my secretary, Mr. Brown, Mr. Legage, and Mr. Terrio, who have just done so much legwork along with me as we've looked at ideas, checked out venues, made phone calls, trying to get things organized. And the team has just put in a lot of work. So there are many thank yous there to what you're seeing tonight. So the top of the form that went out today to all the families and that you received today kind of goes over senior events. And then there's some things on the bottom that are more inclusive to all of our students. So I'm going to start at the top with the prom, which is really going to look more like a senior banquet in reality. But we have within the last week been able to work with Sable Oaks. Mr. Palmer, who is a Scarborough resident, has been willing to work with us, and we are going to have a facility there that can hold 250 students. It will be kind of a formal dress and attire and a dinner. There will be background music, but following the CDC rules and keeping students 6 feet apart, we can't have dancing. But we're hoping to have some fun events, maybe some prize drawings and some games and things like that throughout the evening as well. It will be in a couple of different spaces there, but students will be able to move from one space to the other once dinner is done. And if they can keep their distance, they're going to be allowed to do that. So we're really happy that we've come up with an event that will be much like a prom for them. We're also thinking about the senior class trip is really not possible. Just the busing alone with the low numbers on a bus makes it really challenging. But we're going to offer the students on their last day of classes a senior picnic kind of event at Memorial Field. We're going to ask them to bring a blanket and their yearbooks, and we're going to serve them a lunch outside. We're thinking probably Italians or something like that. And just give them some time on their last day of classes to talk with friends, say hello, get yearbooks signed, and do some things like that. Senior exams happen every year, and they will be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of graduation week. We have got the proctor set and that schedule set. That's very much per normal for us. At this time, the senior class picture, we have not been able to figure out a way to do that, keeping them 6 feet apart. I know that our cameras, even in a panoramic shot with Life Touch, has been challenged to get them smushed together enough to get that picture. And we just don't see how we can do that with distancing at this time. But should things change, we will try to accommodate that. Senior Awards Night will be June 8th. That's a Tuesday night of graduation week. We will be filming it on Wednesday, June 2nd. We will invite students to be in-house that are receiving awards, and we will be in the auditorium and film the event with students coming to get their certificates, scholarships, etc. And we'll have 6 days to get it put together and all set, and then we will launch it the night of Tuesday, June 8th at 6 o'clock. It'll be a YouTube video, and we'll release the program. And our hope is that we can film it with the students live, and then they can be home with their families the night that it's released, and the family can enjoy the event together. And we will be doing a similar thing to that with May Awards Night for all of our students in May. I'll get to that a little bit later. Senior Parade, I've been told through Chief Moulton and Dr. Netto that conversations have started about doing the parade in the school, the core school grounds, the high school, Wentworth, and the middle school. And that will be Saturday morning, June 12th. Students will be lining up in their cars at Nordex and Maine Medical across Sawyer Road, and then they will come across. It will be family units only in the car, 1 student per vehicle, because we've got to keep that 6-foot distance. But we will be doing that on Saturday morning. And then Sunday's graduation. Our current plan, we're pleased to announce that Cross Insurance Arena is going to be opening up their facility for graduation They are at 50% capacity. They are setting up some very strong things for us to follow, and we will do that. It'll be set up a little different than we're used to at Scarborough High. It's going to be a concert setting. So the stage will be down at the end where the Zamboni usually comes out. And the graduates will be all in the main area on the floor, very socially distanced, I believe. CIA is going to require them to sit 12 feet apart. They will take up the entire floor and even go up a little bit into the bleachers at the far end, just to fit people socially distanced. They are currently telling us we have 1,800 capacity there, and that includes their employees, our team producing, graduates, and the families. We're looking right now at 4 tickets per family. They will be seated in a pod of 4. That is by CIA's arrangements, and we will be following their protocol. And, you know, should things change or ticket numbers change, we will look at doing what we can. But right now we're saying 4 tickets per family, and we're super thrilled that we can have a live in-person graduation with students coming across the stage to get their diploma. And we're currently trying to figure out exactly how we're going to do marching practices without getting together. But we're going to figure it out and we'll have it done. So that is our current plan right now. Our option 2 would be Rock Row, but we really feel like getting together and having graduation in person will be our favorite option there. And project graduation, I know they've been waiting for us to release the plans today. And they are thinking about plans and really working on doing something for the students. And I know that next week we have several meetings with the building leadership team, with the officers, to talk about how seniors can get involved with spring plans and help us with some of those details. We're meeting with the parent group as well to get off and running on how they can take part in this as well. And then I know Project Graduation has also said that they would like to meet with us. So that is the full slate of events for our seniors this spring. We're so happy that we're going to be doing those things. I will say that the building leadership team, we are going to be heavily focused on our seniors this spring and trying to get them together to really bring some joy and pull them together as a class before they march across that stage. And I'm sure that other grades are, you know, hopeful about activities for them as well. But we do feel that next year, even the juniors this year, are going to have much more of a back to normal year next year, with things like pep rallies and homecoming dances and proms and things. So we are really going to put our heaviest effort into our seniors this spring and really try to wrap up the year well with them. But with all that being said, there are a few underclassmen things that we launched today. Of course, we're doing AP exams. Instead of the first 2 weeks of May, we'll be doing those the weeks of May 17th and May 24th, the 2 weeks just before the holiday weekend. Some of those exams will be paper to pencil, and some of those exams will be online. We are going to ask that all of the students take the tests in our building, even if it's online, because if there's a technical difficulty, we want our IT team to be nearby to help them out very quickly so they can take their tests. But we'll be planning all of that and proctoring those. May Awards Night will be May 19th. This is an awards night for all 4 grades. Department awards go out there, and probably our biggest awards those nights are our junior book awards. So we will be doing that and filming it on the 12th, the Wednesday afternoon, a week ahead of time. And again, we'll tweak the video, get it all set, and it will launch on May 19th along with the program. So we are going to do that, inviting students that are receiving awards to attend in the auditorium for the filming. They will be seated socially distanced, and before we start the event and start the filming, we'll explain to them how they move from their chair to get their awards and go back to their seat. And then again, we'll launch that so families can watch it together. iReady testing for our freshmen. As you might remember from 2 weeks ago, you said that the high school could be remote that day for learning so that we could test all the 9th graders and get that done. So that's planned for the 19th. And we're now looking at perhaps doing some junior testing for NWEAs that same day, test juniors upstairs and freshmen downstairs, and try to get quite a bit of our testing for the spring done that day. 8th grade tours, we've talked with Kathy Terrell a little bit, and we're hoping starting June 1st that small groups of 8th graders may come up while our students are in class and the halls are clear, to come up and do some walkarounds and have them meet Mr. Yo, Mr. Coombs, and Officer Plourde to do some tours and let our 8th graders see our building a little bit before school's out. And final exams is still kind of a work in progress right now. We've launched an idea. We've had another idea come up today, and that is currently going through the cycle of decision making with our staff. Starts with the building leadership team. We've vetted ideas through our instructional leadership team. It's going to department meetings for small group discussions on Monday. Next Wednesday, we have another ILT meeting, and they'll bring back feedback from those departments, and we will finalize those plans. But we will be doing finals this spring for all grades, and we're really going to try to do things in person, because we did have some issues with midterms being remote. We did have some students not take that seriously, and some cheating occurred, and so we're trying to look at it creatively to not have that opportunity befall us again. So I know that was kind of a quick rundown, but I hope people will be excited. I did get some nice emails today after we launched the plans for the spring, and I'm really hoping that seniors will be super excited about the events that we're going to launch this spring.
So thank you so much for coming and sharing all of that with the board. I know that the community is going to be just so thrilled and excited to see our seniors celebrated. You know, we say all the time, it's not what we want, but at this point, to be able to put all of that creative planning and to put those seniors first, I know will be so appreciated. Does anyone have any questions for Sue? Seeing none, Sue, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. If we could get the slide deck back going, that would be great. Agenda item 8.0 is the chair's report. And you can advance the slide, please. I have a serious chair's report tonight. You know, sometimes we're able to share exciting community news, but tonight I have a serious tone to take. For those in our community who are unaware, on Monday, March 22nd, a racist hate note was found on the car of a Scarborough family. The incident was shared by the family on social media with the following message: please don't respond to this with sympathy replies. What I would like for all of us to do is talk to our children, family, friends, neighbors, and even people that you don't know so well. That is exactly what we set out to do. This past week, with consent from the family, members of our administration, members of the Scarborough School Board, and members of the High School Civil Rights Club met to discuss a joint statement. The statement was sent to our school community on March 30th. At this time, I would like to ask Max Bennett to read that statement aloud.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Seither. All right. Although we know that people of color are regularly subjective to racist acts and aggression, it can be easy to dismiss these nationwide incidents by saying that racism doesn't happen in Scarborough. However, we know that that is not the reality. We stand in solidarity and offer our support to any and all individuals and families in our community who have been targeted and impacted by racist acts. Racism will not be tolerated in Scarborough. We call upon our community members to rise up in opposition to racism and support people of color in our community. We ask you to do the following. Talk to your children and family about racism. Do not use or tolerate the use of racist or derogatory language. If you see something, do something. There are people and resources at each Scarborough school ready and willing to help. If you aren't sure who to report to, consider an adult you trust at the school, or building and district leaders, or student support services staff like school counselors, social workers, etc. Yours in action and support, Scarborough Board of Education, Scarborough District-wide Leadership Council, and Scarborough High School Civil Rights Club. And there's a quote at the bottom that says, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." James Baldwin.
Thank you, Max. I've included a link to the statement in the slide deck. The slide deck is always posted on our website. So if you didn't catch it in the district email, there is a link to that statement available. Included on the letter are some resources that you can use to either help speak with your children or to use to educate yourself. And thank you again to everyone who worked and collaborated on this statement. I think it's a true testament to our dedication to each other and to that level of collaboration that you were able to put something out that was so strong and spoke to so many. So thank you for that. Agenda item 9.0 is committee reports. Next slide, please. Communications.
All right. Kind of big news for the communications team. With some help from our friends at Town Council, we were able to secure a spot in the Scarborough Leader for an In the Know column. The third edition of every month will be dedicated to a school board topic. We're really excited about this opportunity to get our message out more broadly in the community, making sure that people are able to keep up with what we're doing. This is a huge moment. I'm really excited about that. The committee is busy, plenty of things to communicate. We're working through budget communications now. Keep your eye out on the 8th of April. There is a joint town newsletter that's going out electronically that is going to be all budget focused. So there will be information from the school board, there'll be information from Town Council. There's going to be all sorts of information about how to access the data through the portal with instructions on how to get at the different information. So look for that on the 8th. And our next meeting is this Monday, April 5th at 11 a.m.
Thanks, Leanne. Next slide.
Cool. I think this is an old slide. Can you go to the next slide? Maybe press again. There we go. Sorry about that. So some of you who get the town newsletter may have seen this graphic in the newsletter today. And I just wanted to share it again here and just give an update that, or just communicate what the next steps are in the budget process. So it does seem, I think this year there was an exceptionally long time between our first reading or unusually long time between our first reading and Town Council's first reading, which isn't until April 14th. But this just really articulates how many opportunities there are to stay engaged in the process until the referendum on June 8th. The only other thing I wanted to mention was we've gotten some emails, and I think there's been some chatter around town about folks who are looking to, or who are discussing the possibility of voting against the budget if we do not have a plan to return to school full time in the fall. And I wanted to, just as the chair of the finance, communicate why I think that's a bad idea for really two reasons. One, I think they're dependent on one another. So our current budget right now includes additional staffing, additional equipment, technology, resources, all of these things that are going to be required in order to give us the best opportunity to go back to school in person full time. The second reason is it's actually going to have an opposite effect. So generally, when the budget goes to referendum, you get to vote yes or no. You don't get to say why you're voting yes or no. And so if people vote no, the assumption is that they're voting no because the budget is too high, which means it then goes back to town council, who are likely to reduce the budget before it goes to referendum again, which means in between the first referendum, if it fails, and the second, we're going to have to make reductions. And I can't say what those reductions will be because we don't know where a second reading will fall. But I can tell you that there will have to be reductions, and that's something that we want to avoid. So I would encourage people to continue to stay engaged as we work through what our plans are for the fall. And I would also ask that you continue to stay engaged for the budget process and find something that you can support instead of being in opposition to it. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. Next slide, please.
That's me. Okay, the negotiations update is always interesting because there's limited things I can share, but I did want to point out a couple key dates. So on March 22nd, which was a Monday, we had our first meeting to discuss the 4 contracts that are coming due this year. We've talked about those 4 contracts before. They deal mostly with our hourly employees. Actually, they all deal with hourly employees. Ground rules were set, and as usual, both sides agreed that the negotiations process itself, what happens in those meetings and what is discussed in those meetings, will remain confidential throughout the process. So I just want to remind everybody that that's the kind of precedent that we've set that's going to continue through this season. On Monday, March 29th, the SEA did request some impact bargaining for a change in working conditions connected with the recent decision to increase in-person student learning. And this will occur on April 5th, which is next Monday. So I just want to let everyone know where we were in those 2 processes.
Excellent. Thank you, Nick. Next slide, please.
Hi, this is us. We last met March 17th. We've actually been in a little bit of a lull between then and our next meeting. We've taken a little bit of time off because of the schedule that we've had, and also we've been working on creating equity goals that the committee's work. So we don't plan to meet again until April 14th, at which time we are going to start diving into some of the data that we've gotten back. We have the climate survey back, but just as a reminder, we have not yet done any of the other pieces to gather data. So we don't have the equity audit done at the schools, and we haven't done the listening tours. So for now, this would be the first piece of information. The first opportunity to really dive into that is going to be the climate survey. At the meeting on the 14th, we will revisit the issue of live streaming the meeting, so that for the climate survey data piece. So that will be revisited then. And then the other piece, because we don't have all of those data site sources yet, at a later date, I think the board as a whole, we're going to have to decide how we want to codify the data. There is a service that MAEC offers to generate a full report of all of the data sources for us. It would be a very robust, in-depth report. It would include recommendations, but that does come at a fee. So we will have to at some point take that up. But just putting that out there for now, but it won't be until later, until we've gotten all the data sources done.
Great. Thank you, Shannon. Liaison updates. Sarah, you're first.
Cool. So the main thing I think everyone should be aware of is I I think next week, if not next week, maybe the meeting after this, town council is going to have their first reading of their growth management ordinance. And we'll want time to review that as a district, and April, probably a workshop with them to go through it in between first and second reading. It sounds like, based on my conversation with Councillor Anderson, they're trying to move relatively quickly. So between first and second reading, they want to have in June. So that doesn't give us a ton of time, but the reason why we want to review this and at least give our feedback and hopefully our endorsement is there's conversations around offering sort of growth, like unmanaged growth, not unmanaged growth is the wrong word, but like just no limits growth, I guess, pretty much. And then there's some folks who want some restrictions around it. And there's obviously going to be impacts to the school system. And so we just want to figure out what our role is in helping to determine where those limits are. And so I think after first reading comes out, we can take some time to review it, maybe have a workshop with them, give them our feedback and go from there. That's really that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah.
Yep.
I forgot to take vocational off from last time. We haven't met since the last time I gave an update. So we can move forward. Agenda item 9.0, no, 10.0, just kidding, is student representative reports. Go ahead, Max.
Oh, awesome. You can go to the next slide. Okay, perfect. So for the month of April, there's going to be a raffle every day to support Project Graduation. And there's a link to purchase tickets, and that can be found on the Scarborough Public Schools website. Also on Wednesday, March 24th, the high school hosted the SATs for juniors, and I definitely do not envy them. Spring sports started this past week at the high school, and they plan to have a full season with masks and safety precautions. And I'm just so glad to be able to say that. That's awesome. So we can go to the next slide. So middle school spring sports are set to start right back up after April break on May 3rd. And also there was a spirit week at the middle school a few weeks ago, and this was like a friendly competition for the students, and it was a lot of dress up days. Like you can see there was Mismatch Monday, Taurus Tuesday, Spring Colors, Character Day, and Fancy Formal Friday. So that is so fun. Awesome. I'm going to turn it over to Gabby.
Okay. So these are presentations from kids at 8 Corners that they did this for Black History Month, and I completely missed this in my last report, but Miss Lovejoy told me about it, and I thought it should be shared with everyone. So students researched and decorated their doors in honor of famous Black artists, athletes, activists, poets, etc. And at the top right corner, I linked a slideshow that includes pictures of the doors and students' voiceover presenting the research. And I really enjoyed watching this slideshow. It was cool to see all the creativity, and I learned some things. So if you want to watch it, I highly recommend it. It's right there, it's linked. And then the next slide. Yesterday was National Tater. I did not know this until I saw this, but Gates students at Wentworth in Mrs. Ledoux's class used their Wednesday time to create this fun trivia poster on the right about potatoes. And then they also created this cute slide with a pun. And this is something different than the traditional project, but I bet it was very fun and interesting to do. So.
That's great. Thank you, Max and Gabby, for sharing stuff from inside our schools. Agenda item 11.0 is new business. I believe that, yep, thank you. I was going to say it takes us to the end of our slideshow. 11.1 is motion to approve the appointment of a superintendent of Scarborough Public Schools pending the completion of a negotiated contract. So, you know, if you're an avid school board meeting watcher, then you know everything we've been up to. But for those who might not have followed the whole process, I want to go through everything that we did to get us to today. So our search for district's next superintendent began in January, when we as a board began to solicit firms to help us run our search. In the span of time between early February and the end of March, we hired a firm, solicited community and staff member feedback, formed an interview committee, and conducted 2 rounds of interviews. In total, we received 14 applications. The school board selected 5 candidates to put forward to a first round interview. One of those 5 candidates was selected as a finalist in another district, and so the interview committee interviewed 4 individuals. That committee, after their first round of interviews, put forward 2 candidates for our board interview, which took place on Thursday, March 25th. On that evening, the school board selected our finalist. It is with great excitement, that I introduce Mr. Jeffrey Bruno to you tonight. For the past 7 years, Mr. Bruno has served as superintendent of schools in Falmouth. He has experience as a director of curriculum, middle school principal, assistant principal, and middle school science teacher. I have the utmost confidence that Mr. Bruno's experience and commitment to excellence will ensure that Scarborough Public Schools continues to be an outstanding place for our students to grow, learn, and thrive. Scarborough is fortunate to obtain a superintendent of such high caliber. With that, do I have a motion to approve Mr. Jeffrey Bruno to the position of superintendent of schools pending the completion of a negotiated contract?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome.
So I think we're ready to vote, and then Mr. Bruno is here to say a few words.
Great. Mrs. Giftis,
Yes.
Dr. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Casalonis,
Yes.
Ms. Layton,
Yes.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Mrs. Seither,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and Ms. Giftis.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, and congratulations to Jeff. And I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, April. And Max and Gabby, it was so awesome to hear in your student reports that you're talking about the middle school and elementary school. I thought that was really, really cool. It's always hard to follow the student reports. Thank you. I'm really honored to be here and to be selected as Scarborough's next superintendent. I'm going to read a prepared statement. So if I sound a little bit scripted, it's because I'm reading from a script. But I'm so excited to join the Scarborough community as your superintendent starting this July. It was great to meet the search committee over Zoom. I was so impressed with everyone's thoughtful questions and perspective. And then have the opportunity to connect with the school board in person last week really helped me gain insight in the community. And I know that was the first time the board had met in person in a year. So it was just great to be able to share my own experiences and then also connect with the many unique challenges we're all facing right now as we educate our kids and support our families through the pandemic. I loved reading Scarborough's stated mission to provide a safe and inclusive learning environment where each and every student is empowered to be a resilient lifelong learner who is prepared to engage as a contributing member of society. I think the Scarborough's mission is consistent with the qualities I try to embody as a leader: the commitment to providing the best possible educational opportunities for all kids and families, a team approach to problem solving and decision making, a passion to innovate new teaching and learning practices, and a desire to provide authentic learning experiences for all of our students as they try and develop a sense of purpose and belonging in our community and beyond. Throughout my career, as April pointed out, I've worked really hard to develop the relationships necessary to lead with a shared vision, one with the needs of students at the center of all decisions. So I've had the privilege to serve students and families as a superintendent, as a curriculum and instruction director, a middle school principal, a head of an urban charter school, and then also as a teacher. I'm looking forward to meeting everyone and becoming part of the Scarborough community and hitting the ground running this summer to get ready for the upcoming school year. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to meet everybody and to address the community. I really appreciate it.
Thank you and welcome. You're
Thank
stuck
you.
now.
All right.
Okay, agenda item 11.2 is the meeting minutes of the business meeting from February 25th, 2010. Do I have a motion to approve as written?
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
Did you say 2010?
Oh, I did. Look at that. Good catch. Matt. There is a, and I'm just a
At least
dutiful
someone's paying
reader.
attention.
Yeah, I just read it as it was written.
I was
Yeah.
7 years old when this meeting happened, apparently.
All right, so it should read, and I'm sure the meeting minutes, I did read the meeting minutes and they reflect 2020, but you're right, the agenda does say 2010. So let's have a motion to approve the minutes of February 25th, 2021.
Mhm. So moved.
Second.
Right here. Discussion. All right, monkey show.
Mrs. Giftis,
Yes.
Dr. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Castellanos,
Yes.
Ms. Layton,
Yes.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Mrs. Seither,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and Ms. Giftis.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. And thank you to Kelly, as always, for preparing those. Agenda item 11.3 is a donation approval. Sandy, do you have the donations or would you like me to do that?
I'd be happy to do that, April.
Great, thank you.
So I have a letter here from Kate Bolton, who's Director of Business and Finance for Scarborough Schools, and it's a memo to the School Board of Education. John Hughes is a parent of a Scarborough graduates and local businessman, has provided consistent support for the school nutrition backpack program for many years. Recently, he reached out to the school nutrition leaders to discuss continued partnership at a more strategic level. Mr. Hughes has pledged an immediate donation of $10,000 to the program, $2,500 directly, and $7,500 through his corporate giving program with a merit prize. He has also pledged ongoing support for both the backpack program operations and any capital needs related to expanding access to the program. We respectfully request that the school board approve acceptance of this very generous donation on behalf of the backpack program with many thanks.
Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Discussion? All set, Diane, thank you.
Mrs. Giftis,
Yes.
Dr. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Castellanos,
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Layton,
Yes.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Yes, and thank you.
Mrs. Seither,
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Turner,
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes, and thank you so much.
and Ms. Giftis.
Yes, thank you.
Agenda item 11.3.2 is another donation.
Yes, so thank you, April. This is from Kelly Crosby, principal of Wentworth School, and she sent a letter to the Scarborough School Board. A Wentworth family who has asked to remain anonymous has provided consistent support for families in need at Wentworth School over the last few years. Recently, this family reached out to Kelly Crosby to provide a substantial donation to support students and families experience financial hardship due to the pandemic. The anonymous donor has provided an immediate donation of $1,000 to Wentworth School. This donation will be used to support immediate needs of students and families, such as clothing, outerwear, footwear, personal hygiene items, vouchers, and more. We respectfully request that the school board approve acceptance of this generous donation on behalf of Wentworth School with many thanks.
Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? I think we're all set. Thank you, Diane.
Mrs. Giftis,
Yes, and thank you for your generosity.
Dr. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Castellanos,
Yes, and thank you.
Miss Layton,
Yes, thank you very much.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Yes, thank you so much.
Mrs. Seither,
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Turner,
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes, and thank you.
and Ms. Giftis.
Yes, and thank you.
Agenda item 11.4 is appointments. Agenda item 11.41, 4.2, and 4.3. I'm going to bundle those all together. We have had the appointments in our packet from this week. And so do I have a motion to approve the high school unified basketball coaches, the middle school unified basketball coaches, and a high school co-curricular instructor?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Okay, I think we're ready, Diane. Thank you.
Mrs. Giftis,
Yes.
Dr. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Katsalonis,
Yes.
Ms. Layton,
Yes.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Mrs. Seither,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and Ms. Giftis.
Yes.
Agenda item 12.0 is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? I think we're all set.
Mrs. Giftis,
Yes.
Dr. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Katsalonis,
Yes.
Ms. Layton,
Yes.
Mrs. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Mrs. Seither,
Yes.
Mrs. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and Ms. Giftis.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Good night.
Thank you.